Oh, should I do the same?
Rich,
Yes,
you got the minutes, right, for the 2 months, March, the special meeting and the regular minutes?
yes, I did.
Audrey.
Digging. Carry over. Thanks.
Hi, Rob.
Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, all.
Rob. Good evening. Rich, how are you?
Ned, good. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Get your vaccines yet?
Okay.
Mine got canceled. My wife and I were
Oh.
set up for Johnson and Johnson, and we got the call today to
Oh,
not bother coming in.
yeah, that's too bad. Well,
We'll find something else.
they took care of us old folks.
John Delore, who are we waiting on?
We're waiting for, see, we've got Bill Piggott. Tom Kelty was here and he's gone. And Dennis Crow.
Okay.
There's only two of us here.
Jason's not going to be here and Catherine's not going to be here. Ned was here. I don't know what happened.
I'm here.
I know Bill's going to be here. And we got a confirmation from Dennis, who usually does show up. So if worst case scenario, we hope we would have 4. Best would be 5, of course.
Well, we keep getting teased with this weather. I heard something about snow and next day or so.
Oh, come on.
No, is there Bill? Hey, Bill.
Hey, how are you?
Good. And someone else. We have 1, 2, 3.
We only had 2 say they would not be able to attend. So we still should have 5. We got a couple stragglers. I know Ned was on and then.
I'm here. John?
I'm sorry, Tom. I meant Tom.
We look alike.
I'm sorry, yeah.
It's quite a room, Bill. No one else.
I'm going to try calling Tom Kelty, see if he can get back on here.
I don't think I have his number. Don't have a number.
Ned, I think David's speaking with him right now.
Okay.
There's Dennis.
Hey, hi, Dennis.
Hello.
I'm still on the phone with Tom trying to get him on, but why don't you guys get started with the four you got?
Yeah, we can sit Tom.
How many members do we have? Should we just have the four?
We've got five, but one of them can't get on yet. We can seat him when Dave gets him on.
Okay,
We have four now. Jason is the regular member who's not going to be in attendance, so you can sit Dennis Crow for Jason.
Jason, okay. Okay. Good evening. My name is Ned Moore, and I am the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Welcome to the April 13th meeting of the regularly scheduled Zoning Board of Appeals. Let's see, the procedure is we do have a presentation prior to the vote. We have 5 members normally that will sit. We're trying to reach our 5th, but 4 votes for an application are enough to pass it. You do not need, or you need to have a full majority. You can't have a simple majority. So we do need 4 votes if we are able to continue the meeting as we are. Tonight, we have the following members. Let's see, Bill Piggott is here. Let's see, Richard Gilbert. Dennis Crow is here as an alternate, and he'll be sitting in for Jason Brown, and myself, Ned Moore. I'm a full member of the board as well, and so we have 4 members to move forward. It's your option before we start the proceeding to wait until the next meeting and have a full board. However, you do need 4 votes to have your application approved. We have those members here, and we're ready to start the meeting. Is there anybody who would like to withdraw and go to a next meeting? Okay. Our clerk is Marlene Kennedy, And I'm going to ask her if she will read the roll or read the notice as has been published in the town board.
Okay. Right. The Zoning Board of Appeals, regular meeting agenda, Tuesday, April 13th, 2021, 7 p.m. Zoom online meeting. Applications 8242 39 Seaview Avenue, map 28, lot 92, R4 district. Request to vary 3.8B and 12.6 of the Madison zoning regulations to allow 2,107 square foot coverage where 1,480 is allowed and allow 3,385 floor area where 2,800 square feet is allowed, to permit new dormer and front porch to be extended, enlarging an existing non-conforming structure. 8420 72 Wickford Place, map 96, lot 40. Request to vary section 11.2 of the Madison zoning regulations to allow an accessory building to be built 10 feet from the property line where 20 feet is required. 8241 113 Liberty Street, map 29, lot 147, R2 district. Request to vary section 3.6A and 12.6 of the Madison zoning regulations to allow a front yard of 13 feet where 40 feet is required, to permit addition of second floor over existing first floor sunroom, enlarging an existing non-conforming structure. Approval of minutes, March 3rd and March 9th, 2021, and adjournment.
Okay, thank you.
Ned, briefly, this is Dave Anderson. So Tom Kelty is on. He's on as an attendee, but he can hear us and talk. So Tom, could you just confirm you can hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so he's on the meeting.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
We have 5.
We have 5. Okay. Let's see.
First
So,
application,
pardon me, Marlene?
you want me to read for the first application?
Well, I was just going to say, before we move on, is there anybody who wants to withdraw at this time? Okay, thanks, Marlene.
Okay, 8242 39 Seaview Avenue. Map 28, lot 92, R4 district.
Okay, and who's here to speak on behalf of the application?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Attorney Chris McKeon, representing the applicant. My office address is 900 Chapel Street in New Haven. I have here with me tonight the homeowners and the members of the applicant, Sally and Bill Hines, as well as their architect, Rob Sanders, to whom I am going to hand over the floor to present the project.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Robert Sanders. I'm an architect in Wilton at 436 Danbury Road in Wilton. And thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to discuss 39 Seaview Avenue. The property was built in 1910. And if I can pop on to share my screen here for a second, you might enjoy this as a touch of history about the property. This house here is 39 Seaview, along with its neighbors at the time and some fashionably attired bathers, which set the mood. The property has been not significantly altered since that time of construction. You can see a kind of a tumble down of additions on the back side of the property here. There's a porch covered here on the second floor, which is kind of inspires one of the elements that we're after restoring. So what we are asking for is to allow an addition and reorganization of the spaces on the first floor to address some of the problems existing with the house. Again, our existing conditions, and if I can get by the stop share, which I can't. Here, just a second. I need to shrink this a little bit. Here we go. I'll come back. Sorry, there we go. The wonders of technology. Hello to someone else. Right now in our existing plan, we have a central staircase that's a little under 32 inches wide, and it's areas of headroom on it that drop down as low as 73 inches. And we have a connection through the house via a bathroom between the rear part of the house and the front part of the house. It is our goal to improve the connection between the front part, and the view you saw was down here from near the water, and the rear part of the house by eliminating the connection through the bathroom. We are looking to create safe means of egress through the house with construction of a new stair that connects the first and second levels and allows continuation to the attic to utilize space there, and to eliminate a nonconformity that exists on the east side of the property. North, south is the water, east, west. The lot is unusually narrow, being 50 feet wide, and in a zone that requires 80 feet as its minimum width. This lot is unique among the neighborhood on in the area of Seaview Avenue in its width. So that presents our first challenge as we go forward. Our proposal is to, I should also just introduce the fact that the existing residence is 1,895 square feet, or comprises 1,895 square feet of building coverage on the site. We are proposing addition of 212 square feet, partly by eliminating this non-conforming section and essentially reallocating the space to this side. And then an addition here, which allows us to slide the functions that are in the middle part of the house where the kitchen is located out into the conforming part of the site. One of the things that, and also, I'm sorry, just to continue, we would also like to extend the porch, which right now is 9 feet wide to the deck under an 8-foot wide roof, to 12 feet so that it's a little bit more useful. And we feel that that's part of the porch culture of Seaview Avenue. One of the other things, or the other thing that we are requesting, is a proposed building area increase. This comes about as part of the proposed expansions and part of our desire to utilize the third floor of the existing structure. This is our proposed floor plans. And so what we have shown is relocating the stair from the center of the house to the side where it can be an appropriate width. And because of the shape of the house, this existing steep gable, we intend to follow up the roof line to utilize the third floor space, and would like to add a dormer above the existing dormer to utilize the half story. One thing of note also is that we are not exceeding the height of the existing ridge. The existing ridge is 29 feet high. We are not changing that height, so the overall height of the building will not be varied. It does raise the average building height when we provide a dormer in this area. But again, we're well within conformity of the maximum building heights for the narrow lot and the reduced building heights that are allowed in that area. To go back to the floor plan, go away, hopefully. Thank you. As I said, our intention is to move the stairway off to the side. We'll start at first floor, move up to its new landing at the second floor, and then to eliminate a completely non-conforming stair to get to the attic, or the half story, I should say, we continue up that run to our fourth bedroom. Of note is that there are 4 bedrooms in this existing floor plan, and we are reducing that to 3 in order to get a second bath and a more modern layout. The existing fourth bedroom is relocated to the attic area. Currently, the attic area has habitable space in a 6-foot wide slot across the top of the house. There are windows on each end. The current area does not count towards the overall building area because it's less than the percentage that's exempted in relation to the second floor. When we add the dormer, it not only picks up the square footage of the dormer, but also the roof line that we cover the north part of the house with, this gambrel roof. So for an addition of a 351 square foot living area, we also pick up another 122 feet of attic area, for a total of 351 square feet. I'm sorry for the confusion there. Let me say that again, that the existing attic is 181 square feet. The proposed attic is 473 square feet for what counts as 351 square feet of living area. But in fact, the change in overall square footage of that half story is only 170 square feet. But because of going over the 25% of the second floor, the area that's existing attic, which has no count in the existing building coverage, becomes counted. So that's an unusual condition. Overall, our goal is to maintain the character of the neighborhood. From these photographs, you can see the existing house, the existing neighbor of 37 Seaview is still there, as is 35. The profile of the house is much similar to the historic photo. The original roof deck here was eliminated somewhere along the way when the dormer wasn't closed. So we propose to extend this porch by about 3 feet and stretch this roof line out with an arched curve. We're going to eliminate the non-conforming projection part of this one-story addition to relieve the non-conformity on that side, and propose to fill in this part here and bring a roof line up that gives us adequate headroom through the rear portion of the house. As I said, we're not increasing the height of the house. And for instance, this little slot of view that can be seen from Fairview Avenue will remain unencumbered. Just to kind of follow through on other pictures of the neighborhood, 41 Seaview is a considerably taller house. 19 Fairview, which is this rear lot, is not impacted by anything going on our property here. Included in the work will also be a new septic system to make the property up to date. The existing septic system and the new septic system will go in this area between the existing house and the garage. One of the things I did to kind of get a handle on the district and the neighborhood was to look at the size of neighboring properties on it. And included in your packet was an analysis I prepared that looks at kind of the density of the adjacent structures on the neighboring lots. I reviewed, excuse me, my cursor going. So this is us at 39. I looked at 41. I looked at 19 Fairview. I looked at essentially what were the three little pigs, our original house and 39 and 30, 37 and 35. And I presented those numbers in a number of ways. I wanted to note which included half stories in their finished attic, and 3 of the existing neighbors have finished half stories. So that's similar to what we wanted to propose. The building areas vary from, the site areas vary from approximately 6,000 square feet to over 10,000 square feet. So the existing lot square footage is in that range. We are neither the largest nor the smallest. And then I created a ratio between the size of the sites and building coverage and the size of the versus the maximum allowable. And same thing on floor area, the maximum allowable square footage as defined by the site size and the actual floor areas. I was looking to see whether we were above or below on the adjacent averages. And in each case, we are below the adjacent averages of the buildings. So this was an attempt to show, are we going to be good neighbors? We want to be both architecturally good neighbors as well as good neighbors as individuals. Starting by the volume of the building that exists and what we propose to do to it, we're trying to be a good neighbor and fit in with the adjacent houses. Hopefully architecturally, we've respected the style of the existing house. It is not our intention to blow it up as a McMansion, to make it giant. If you go through the neighborhood along the shore, you'll know very well that most of the houses try to exploit a half story on their roof lines if possible. We are doing that within the context of the volume of the existing house. We are making sure that we don't block any volume or view shots that are visible from Fairview, as well as to be respectful to our neighbors to the east and west. And that hopefully that you will see this application favorably. So with that, I leave it open to your questions or comments.
Hi, on one of the first, I think the very first exhibit you showed us, Mr. Sanders, would you mind pulling that up again? I think I just wanted to see, maybe it was the second one, where it showed the lot size and where you wanted to expand and.
Sure. Come on, go away.
And whatnot.
Give it a moment. It just has to leave.
Sure.
There it goes. I just have to make sure I've got my tab right. I think, where am I? Once Zoom figures out that they don't need to do that anymore. Sorry, I'm losing track. There we are. This one, I'm sure?
Yeah, please. And if you could
Yes.
just show us again, existing
So-
and proposed.
Right, so the extension of the porch. This is.
And I'm sorry, is that dash line the existing?
The existing porch is where it says porch.
Oh,
So the
okay.
gray area is the proposed extension.
Got it.
And by doing that, we also pick up some, 50% of that porch, as you know, in the calculations. So the porch, even though it has nothing above it, does nail us on some square footage there. This right now has a window bay and a roof overhang in the middle of this. So the functions that are occurring in this kitchen part of the house to clear out that stair, space for the stair along the east side here, push out into the area that's currently Bluestone Terrace. The volume that's back here in the hash mark, which is non-conforming, it's got a setback of 8.4 feet currently. So we're going to bring that in as single-story space to the inside the 10-foot setback on that side. I kind of squish the sausage in a different shape. So the square footage that's lost here goes here and here on the map. Outline of the existing house is the white area, and this is existing garage, and there's a terrace here.
So I've got a question. Is the porch with far enough back from the front offset? I don't see any mark there. I presume that means there's no offset issue there.
We're well clean on the front setback. We don't have any issue there.
Okay.
And I don't need anything on the sides.
Okay.
So as far as the only part that will remain that will be non-conforming is 10.8 feet and 7.4 are part of the existing house that rise to 2 stories, so that those areas are, without demolishing the house, I can't make that go away.
Yeah. So they're grandfathered prior to zoning.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Rich, you got anything?
No, Dennis, I'm good. I'm just reviewing.
Okay. Ned?
I was wondering that the porch that's going to be expanded as well with the coverage that's coming over?
That's correct. It's part of the calculation.
Okay.
So.
Mm-hmm.
And everything will be in conformance at that point except that front, correct? Or I'm sorry, the side yard.
Right, the existing west side yard.
Right.
Yeah. And the square footage.
Yes, correct.
And that's what the variance is really all about.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
How about Tom? You got anything on that?
Nope.
Okay.
How about the front stairs? Are you going to replace those? I know that's not part of the.
These?
Yes.
We don't need to. Septic is going back here. We did look at test holes and everything else. We had test holes done. They were approved by the town sanitarian. So we're going to leave the retaining wall and the steps as they exist. The good thing about that is that keeps us out of the flood zone also. So the property is high and dry. Somewhere along the way, it probably was on footings and a basement was dug underneath the house, which is later than the house. My guess is 50s. So.
I see the house next door is up on stilts.
Yeah, quite the operation there.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
So, Dave, what do you think? You got any comment on that?
No, I don't have comment.
Okay. About John? You got any guidance for us?
No, I think it was
All right.
well described it.
I think he's bringing the house into conformance as much as possible by removing the, is it the north, which side are we on there? Is that the east side?
East side, yeah, sorry, it's confusing.
Has been able to, use that in another way so that he can get the extra benefit on other parts of the house. And I can understand what he's doing on the front with the extra room. And it is kind of a very creative way of refashioning the house to make it a little more 20th century, 21st century, and livable.
And, as the application says, discuss all work, the vinyl siding will go away. And, some of the other things that have just been, the product of 100 years of not quite enough maintenance. So we're going to, do right by the house. So,
The other, excuse me, the other thing you might want to point out here is that by redesigning the house, you're getting that stairway, which is non-compliant,
Mhm.
into a compliance situation. So that's a safety issue.
Yes.
So that's a big plus. And also on the means of egress, that is not in compliance as it exists now. So you're changing that again to be in compliance with the regulations. And of course, that's a safety hazard in the way that it exists now. So I think those are two big things there also.
Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar that if you do a substantial renovation, at some point, the building office says you're, gutting or repairing or rebuilding or whatever you're doing more than 50% of a structure, you have to come into code compliance on all of it. So you can't leave an old stairway or wander through the bathtub to get to the next part of the house. So that's part of what we're kind of just embracing at this point and correcting.
Yeah, especially if somebody's taking a bath, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Depends on who,
true.
So Ned, what do you want to do?
Well,
I had wanted to point out a couple of things that I had sent in a letter earlier today.
Yeah, you did.
Wanted
Yeah.
to make sure you had an opportunity to read it. I did point out the two safety code issues that board member Piggott just mentioned. A couple other things that I wanted to point out were we've seen narrow lots before down in the beach area, but seldomly do they have over 9,000 feet. Most times they're smaller lots. This is a pretty large lot for a 50-foot width. In fact, I can't really remember any like this. So I just saying alone the lot width of 50 feet is unique may not ring true in many instances, but here I think it does, given the size of the lot being so large yet narrow. I also think when I was approached by Bill and Sally that this is a refreshing application in the sense that they're going out of their way really to maintain a quintessential home on the shoreline as opposed to, knocking it down and starting over. And I think that Rob, as I hope you'll agree, I think that Rob has done an excellent job of, as he put it, reorganizing this space really within the rectangle of the home that's there, as to really not create issues that would be objectionable to the neighbor and the surrounding community. I've laid out the various points in my letter, which developed the hardship argument, largely centered upon the code and safety issues, the uniqueness of the lot shape, the reasonableness of the changes as set forth in the adjacent property density analysis that Rob had put together, and the fact that I feel you could also hang your hat on the intensification of use rather than expansion, by the way that the space is really being shifted and used more intelligently and more safely, as opposed to building a new home with a great deal more square feet. I think the way our regs work with floor area calculation, the gross floor area, when you look at just the number, is kind of skewed when you have to count the additional space in the attic because you're putting a dormer on, and you have to account for some space on the porch, even though it's uncovered what you're adding. So I hope you'll agree that I believe this is a modest and a modest request and is well justified by the factors that I've laid out in my letter and the work that Rob has done to pay attention to all these issues.
And thank you for the letter. It did lay out.
Yeah,
a lot
I
of-
forgot to mention your letter because I thought it was laid out a pretty good case. So,
Is there anyone, let's see, can we close is there anyone else who would like to address the board during the open portion of the meeting?
do we have any neighbor?
We do have a hand up, Andrew Wood. Andrew, you may need to unmute yourself.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Wood. I'm here with my wife Fiona, and we're the owners of the adjoining property, 37 Seaview Avenue, which is, as you commented, having a little work done to it at the moment. I did write to John Delora on April the 1st, and I just wanted to make sure that that letter was before you. I don't mean to read it out if you want it, but I'm very supportive of everything that's going on. I'm delighted to see a property that's falling into somewhat poor condition being done in this way that will keep the vernacular seaside cottage, which our property represents also, and so we're very supportive of it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that's
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
And your address again was 39?
37.
37, okay.
So we're the adjoining property on the west.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like, any others who would like to speak on behalf of the application?
I'm not seeing any other hands raised.
Okay. And at this point, I'd like to close the meeting for discussion. Okay.
Thank you.
Bill, you always have a pearl of wisdom. Would you like to start the discussion?
Sure. It's refreshing, to see a zoning application that, in my opinion, it's very intelligent design in keeping with the area. We usually see in situations like this very extensive expansion, and it's just nice, to see where a lot of thought has been put into this property and keeping it in style with the rest of the small cottages or whatever you want to call them along that street. So my hat's off to the architect and to the property owners and keeping the way, keeping that style. And I'm all for it.
Great.
I'd like to mention that in having read the application and the taking a look at the pictures and everything online and so on, I know I've seen a number of applications that came in. They didn't have a good hardship written up, and this one seemed to clarify that pretty clearly, that there was a hardship, which is our criteria for what we can do for a variance. And I think that this demonstrated that hardship clearly. So anybody else?
I think what we can say is that there is a reduction in the nonconformity, and we can let the application go forward as a result. And that can be taken in terms of the consideration.
So,
Rich?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Dennis said, that the keeping the existing structure, the hardship is kind of the lot size. If you want to keep it the way it is, you're kind of restricted. So I think I agree with Dennis on that.
Hey, Tom?
Yeah, I think that the considerations that were entered into the changes were very well thought out. And I think that it ended up with a process that is going to satisfy the owner and have very little bad effect, if any, and probably some good effects on the property.
I'd like to say that both the owner and the architect have really taken the neighborhood into consideration in the overall redesign of the home by maintaining the historic, I guess it's over 50 years, so it would be the historic character and nature of the property, and at the same time bringing it into the 21st century and getting it ready for 21st century lifestyles. And I
coding.
think they did a great job. So
And coding too.
and
That having been,
within the codes, right?
and that having been said, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this application.
Is there a second?
I would second that.
I think Tom beat you.
Can I, Dennis, can I just suggest something?
Yes, sir.
When you make that motion, could you give you did a great presentation in the deliberation, but in the motion, just for the record, our
State,
because of the
state,
code.
identify them,
Yeah,
identify
because of
the,
reduction of the
okay. right.
setback.
all right. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve application number 8242 for Seaview Avenue to allow the 21, to vary section 3.8B and section 12.6 of the Madison zoning regulations to allow the 2,107 square foot coverage where 1,480 square feet is allowed, and allow 3,385 square feet floor area where 2,800 square feet is allowed, to permit the new dormer and front porch to be extended, enlarging an existing non-conforming structure. How'd I do?
That was pretty good.
Did fine.
Good. And is there a second?
Second,
No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you very much, and good luck with your project.
Yeah.
Looks great, and
Very much.
Thank you to the board.
they're
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're coming by for a party when you get something.
We'd
Absolutely.
love to have you. Everybody get their vaccinations and we'd love to have you.
I got mine.
I got mine. I'm ready.
We're coming
Okay.
over. We're coming over.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Really
Take care.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks.
all right. Yeah,
Oops, okay. 8240 72 Wickford Place, map 96, lot 40.
And who is here to speak on behalf of the application?
I am Travis Gulick, Gulick and Company Renovation Contractors, 45 Wall Street, Madison. And I also have the owner, Eric Hogarth, here as well, 72 Whitford.
Okay, great. Okay. Would you like to start? And if you have any, I'm sure you've already turned in anything that's going to be used in your presentation to the Marlene.
Yep, yes, and everything should be there. I have a couple more pictures of the property, but everything you guys should have had. So this is at 72 Wickford Place, down near the end of the cul-de-sac, one of the last houses on the block. I could go ahead and share my screen. I can bring up a survey of the property. So this is the property. You have Wickford Place, the street down below on the bottom of your screen, the existing house, porch is on the left and the driveway comes in here on the right side. You see the property line right on the right side. There is an existing shed that was placed there. These are new owners the past couple of years. This shed was placed by the old owners and the driveway into this piece of, into the other property multiple years ago. However, we will be removing that shed to get it off of the wrong property. The biggest thing with this property and the survey, as you can see on this right side of the survey, there are all those lines that show the elevation and the grade changes. So on the driveway, it starts at 96 and then it goes all the way to the backyard, which is 80. So you're talking about a 16-foot drop in their backyard. And that's really the main reason for this variance request. This is an accessory building that we are looking at. This is going to be in a 4-car garage that goes deep. It is 16 feet away from the house, so it meets the accessory building definition. So it is over 15 feet away from the house. Well, this would be the front of the garage. As you can see from the front, we have 2 garage doors. We have a nice window above that actually matches with the existing house. So that way it ties everything together, as well as the dormers ties in with the existing house. That way the whole design and the whole property is cohesive. In the front of this property, or in front of this building, you can notice that on the side that is closest to the property line, there is a 10-foot to the drip edge, which, again, if this was a flat piece of property, we would not be needing this variance request because we would be meeting the code for an accessory building. We're 10 feet off the property line. We're 10 feet to the drip edge. The whole building is about 24 feet wide. And then on over here, you can see we have 96 at the driveway, and it drops considerably down. This is the back of the structure. You can see the dormers on this side. This line right here is the garage floor. And then this side is our biggest issue. Being on that hill and that grade dropping so much that this is now 20 feet instead of 10 feet. And that is the request we're making. See if I can bring up photos. I'm gonna stop share. This is the driveway to 72 Wickford. You can see over here to the right, that's that little alcove of the driveway. Straight ahead, right where this flagpole is, that would be where the garage would be. There's an existing deck that would be connected to the garage. That way they can have a deck that connects the garage and the house so you can have easy access. Let's go over here. This is just a closer look of where the garage would start. It would be in line right with this deck. While you're coming down the street, you have this from this is the neighbors over here. I'm pointing with my hand, sorry. Over here is 72 Wickford. Up here is the neighbor. Right behind these trees, that is where the garage is going. You can't, it's not really going to be a big structure from the street. When you go down a little closer, you can see that there's also a lot of trees, lots of vegetation that is going to be blocking that. This is the view from the deck, just kind of showing you the grades, showing how fast it drops off. This is from down below. Again, see all this vegetation. You can barely see the neighbor's house way up here. all that vegetation will be staying. These up here in this area, that would be where the garage is going. But you can see that it doesn't affect the neighbors very much because it drops so far out. This fence is Eric Hogarth's fence. So that's the property line. So you can see way back here, it's really not usable land for the neighbor. Another photo, seeing the drop. And showing this as reference as well. I meant to grab a little bit more of the window up top. But the main reason is when they built these houses, they cut a lot of corners. So it's only, they say it's a 2-car garage. However, as you can see from this picture, it really only fits one. Not really any way you can get 2 in there without putting one sideways. On top of that, I think you guys have both in your documents that there are 2 neighbors that are one's directly across from the Hogarths at number 61 Wickford Place. And the exact neighbor at 66 Wickford Place, which you can see in those pictures, is neighbors saying they have no problem with it. They support the project. They have seen the photos, they have seen the designs, and gone from there. At this point, I mean, as you can see, this is the 10 feet, and then just the drop off is that 20 feet to the drip edge. And that's the variance request. At this time, I think I'm open for questions.
The existing shed that's there now
Yes.
is not on his property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's going to be eliminated, obviously.
Correct. Yes, we are removing that shed.
Okay. So when you put the garage up, how close is it to the property line now?
So the front of the garage will be 10 feet from the property line, which is allowed under the accessory building code. Then the back of it will be 20 feet.
Okay. And
Well, sorry. Let me rephrase. The whole structure is 10 feet from the property line.
okay.
The whole structure is 10 feet from the property line. I missed.
Okay.
And what exactly is non-compliant?
It's for an accessory building from the ground to the roof drip edge. That needs to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So the front of the garage, I'll share my screen again. From the front of the garage to the drip edge is 10 feet, which we are 10 feet from the property line. If the ground was flat all the way back, I would not be here for a variance request. I would be able to, John DeLauro would be able to sign off on it because I meet the code for
Okay.
accessory building. But since this drops so far down, this is the back. So the property line is over here.
Yeah.
So it's about 10 feet. Now this is 20 feet because of the grade.
Got it. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, so now, so there will be a full basement underneath this garage?
Yes, yeah, you will be able to walk underneath. It's not needed. However, it's such a big space. There probably only half of it will be used. The other will maybe fill in, but
If it's there, it's there. It's not a question whether they use it.
Correct, yes.
Is there any limitation on the square footage of the buildings on the property that we're approaching there? I didn't see that.
No, it's an RU, RU1, I believe. So I do not have any floor area issues. It would only be coverage, and we are way under for coverage. So I do not have those calculations in front of me since.
Dennis, I think because And John, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think because it's more than 15 foot away, the square footage is not included, like with the house.
It's not more than 15 foot away.
Yeah,
From
it's
property line.
16. I thought it was no, away from
16
the house.
Yeah,
No,
16
it's-
feet from the property, or 16 feet from the main building.
From the
So
main building.
it's an accessory.
If I can, I'll just address that question on coverage and floor area. It's in an RU, a rural district, so it's 10% of the area of the lot. So if the lot's 80,000 square feet, then the coverage is 8,000 square feet. And in the RU districts, we don't regulate floor area. So neither one is really an issue here.
Okay,
And regardless of where that accessory building is, it's going to count for floor area and coverage.
okay.
John, do you, this is unique. I haven't read anything dealing with rising slope and hardships. I understand exactly if it were flat, there wouldn't be a variance request, but because of the slope, I mean, do we have any other cases like this in our?
Well, you've got two things here. One, they're eliminating a pre-existing non-conforming structure, right? Their shed is over the property line. So they're not only going to bring it into compliance, they're going to remove it. So that extinguishes a pre-existing nonconformity, with this property. So again, that's another one of the trade things. That's something that you can trade. It's up to you. It's up to the board. The other thing is topography does play a role in a consideration, if not a legal hardship, a consideration as would the location of a sanitary system. If others were able to put an accessory building in, and they didn't have to move their septic system, and these folks did have to move it, that could be considered in the absence of a legal hardship. I think the board could use that kind of a situation too as a reason to grant or not. But no, I can't think of something offhand, but that required a variance. The front of the building actually complies if the slope were not. If it weren't for the topography, the 10 feet would comply.
So Mr. Gulick, I'm just curious, why can't the garage go 10 more feet is that to the west or toward
North.
away from the property line?
If I go close, then you're talking about going closer to the house?
No, just shifting it sideways to where the steps and,
So over here?
yeah.
So if I
Yep.
did that, then I'm within the 15 feet of the accessory building structure. And then, with the grades, I can show you if you can see those stairs, they kind of wind down to get, down to your backyard. And so if I was within 15 feet, then I would almost have to attach it, and then the pool gets in the way. It's a whole more.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
Bill, what do you think?
And John, you said that the bill or the lot itself can't be considered a hardship.
Well, no, I think I made a reference to the topography.
Right, the topography of would not be considered a hardship.
Well, in the absence of a legal hardship, I think it could be considered as if they had to move a sanitary system. I think courts have allowed that as a reason to grant a variance, as well as eliminating a pre-existing nonconformity.
I certainly can see that. I can see the elimination, and quite honestly, I don't see anywhere else you can put it. They can't go in the front yard.
No, and that's, we obviously did explore other options.
Yeah.
And there really just, wasn't another option, especially, when we started designing, we're like, oh, great, we can do this. And then the slope came into play.
Is that turnaround area in the driveway also?
This area right here,
Yeah,
that was going to remain there. The homeowner, Hogarths are in agreement with the neighbor. Again, they don't care about it.
okay. There's nothing that
There's stuff.
that's inconsequential to this. Not
Correct.
relevant. All right.
Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of the application?
Well,
Yeah,
I
go
like the fact that, as John said, that they're eliminating that pre-existing non-conforming shed on somebody else's property. I think that's a big thing. And I don't know if you want to call the slope in the back a hardship. You probably can't, but it's an extenuating situation where they have no other choice to build.
Right.
And I guess I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. My question is, I certainly can see the slope. I drove around there. I didn't go onto the property, but I could see that the ground is there is a drop off in the back and goes off into the woods. The question is there enough of a hardship to say I need the building? With the previous application, we had a pretty good case for the fact they needed to do some work on it. This one, you got a garage. It's tight for a 2-car garage, granted. So now do we grant 2 floors worth of 800 square feet?
John, can I ask you what it kind of going along with what Dennis is saying? Does your office have any opinion about, I was looking up on the zoning regs about accessory buildings, and it doesn't have anything about size. It could be a shed, and this tends to be a lot bigger than a shed. Is there any opinion in your office about?
I think it depends on the use. I mean, my classic example is that, if you have 80,000 square feet in an RU district or anywhere, you're able to have as many horses as you want. The only caveat to that is you've got to be able to have a shelter, for those horses. So if you live in a 1,200 square foot split level house in an RU 80,000 square foot lot, and you have 12 horses, you're going to have a barn that's going to be 3 times larger than your house. So because that's the use, we as the regulations state that you can have the horses, but you have to shelter the horses. So no, size doesn't. I think one of the things that the board can consider is size, for the use. Variances can be granted with conditions or modifications. It's done all the time. So I think that's up to the discretion of the board to weigh everything in the application and then go forward with a decision based on that.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of use as an accessory building, could we put conditions on the use?
No, if it complies with the regulations, then they're allowed to use. I mean, they're gonna put cars in there, and if they wanted to have a home office or
They can, okay, that's,
Something like that, yeah, they could utilize that space, as a residential use. I was referring basically to the size.
Mhm. Yeah, um, that's consideration of size and the, when you identify a hardship, you got to identify a need for the building in the first place, I guess, before you can say that we need a variance. Mr. Hogarth, would you like to address the board?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing us. I love our house. Beautiful house. It was built in '88. We have 3 kids and a massive car. So I guess cars back then were very big as well. But if anyone's familiar with our street, if you're looking at the house on the right side where the driveway is, on the left, because initially it was, okay, could we put it over there? That's where the cul-de-sac has access to the trail system back there, which is beautiful. And I can't put it there either, because that's where the access is for folks that want to go hiking. So and the grade over there is even steeper. So it's really the only place that I can put it. And talking to my neighbor directly up the street, we thought about making it less long, but then it runs the risk of just looking odd aesthetically. It doesn't really match, because then it's even more abrupt with that drop. The drop is pretty steep. I mean, the staircase goes down a way. So that's how we came to arrive at this. I mean, it didn't occur to me buying the house, because if you were to look at it, it's an interesting place for the property line to be, because there's a slope from my neighbor's yard down to mine, and who would think that my shed is actually not my shed. But so, my wife is looking forward to eliminating that. So that's how it came to be the size that it is. I know we're not talking about that, but we're not going to plumb it. We're not going to heat it. We're not going to use it for residential. It'll be, the storage beneath it is really just a byproduct of the fact that we have to build this huge foundation if we can do it anyway. So we might as well use it.
Yeah, that looked logical.
Yeah. So that's maybe wonderful if we could do it, because I have no other place to put it.
right,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe we should go into deliberations at this point and close the hearing.
Are there, Ned, are there
Are we done-
any
are we
other
done with the
neighbors?
questions?
Yeah, are there any neighbors too?
I had asked, and I don't know, are there any people who are here to speak against the application? Anyone for the application? I'd asked before.
I will direct your for the 2 neighbors that are affected, that the only 2 neighbors that are at the end of that block. You can read those letters that they do approve this project. We did show them all plans.
I saw one letter. Were there 2? Did I miss one?
I can bring up.
I only see a Roger Mason letter.
Yeah, that's all I see too.
Your next door neighbor.
I got two here. This what was the other one? The Roger Mason.
Roger Mason letter.
That's the direct neighbor that will be affected.
Mhm.
Then this is 61, which is right across the street.
How are you going to get that to Marlene to include as a?
I did submit this. I submitted the whole packet with the Roger Mason letter, and then probably 2 hours later, I submitted this on an email. And I was told that I was going to be in the packet.
Marlene, is that good enough for you?
I can send this off to her.
Don't send it to Marlene, send it to me, Travis. We'll put it in. the file.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
With the could I ask one more question, Mr. Gulick? With the so with the slope and all the backyard, when you're driving down the street, I mean, do you know how much is going to be visible from the street? with the way you propose to build this building?
It's really going to be the side of the building, probably about 20 feet back. Let me get to that photo for you. So this is what you can't, so from this photo, this is right from their driveway. You can barely see the flagpole, and that's where the front of the garage is. Up the street just a little bit, that house is Roger Mason's house, 66 Wickford Place. There's really this gap is where you're going to see it from the street. And that's pretty much the facade, front, that corner of the garage. So really from the street, you're really not going to notice how far it goes, you know, the slope and the side of the building.
Right. See
From-
the yard.
So
From-
from the front yard across the street, you don't see the slope.
Okay. From the perspective of establishing a hardship, okay, you're talking about putting up a 25 by, is it 25 by 40, is that right?
Correct. I think
Okay,
it's
25 by
24.
40 foot deep. That's like a 4-car garage easily. And then workspace at the end. Or your 3 horses, as the case may be. But if the garage were not so deep, well, I don't know how much fall off you would have at half that distance, you know, at 20 feet back. You know, I struggle with the hardship here is the problem.
There's no hardship.
And again, I'll reiterate what Eric was talking about was when you do bring it back. So as you can see on the survey, the steps end right at the end of the garage. So that way, if we did bring this back, there you see all this grade here. This would just all have to get excavated out to really, and almost back here to make it even usable from the property. And how abruptly it would be.
Wait,
So down
I'm not
here,
following.
this is right here is where the grass is. And this is at around 80. So if we brought, like Eric was talking about, you kind of bring this, if you brought this back to 20, it's abrupt and it's going to be really tall and it's almost going to be stubby almost in the end. By bringing this all the way back, and then this all has to get kind of reworked, this grade, to even have access underneath. I might not be making much sense. Maybe I'm making more sense in my head.
But what you're telling, we agreed that if you know, we had a discussion a minute ago where we said that if given the size of it, you've got the ability to put access there.
Correct.
That's fine, but there was not a need established for having that space underneath the garage. The need was, you stated we had a garage that was too tight to fit 2 cars.
Correct.
And right now I see something that's big enough to fit at least 4 cars and also get some space underneath. So what I'm saying is I don't know that you've established a need for that.
Sure.
No hardship. So I struggle with that. So in other words, the amount of variance that you need how high is the drip edge in the back?
20 feet.
20 feet. And if you were stopped 20 feet back, it would probably be somewhere around 15 feet, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. You'd still need a variance.
Correct.
So the question becomes,
how big a variance do you want to give them?
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about this variance is that John has explained this as just a silly rationale that he says it's kind of funny, but if you envision the house or the building tipping over on its side, am I right, John? You said, yeah. So where does the drip edge land? Is that?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the theory of the 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, and so not that I expect this to tip over, and John himself says, yeah, it's crazy, but that's what they have. So, but yet, there's no,
And that's one thing. I mean, I think that comment, when you're talking about having it tip over in that 20 feet, is that all this land that you can see over here, you can see way up here to his house, that this all drops off, and that's why the homeowner next door doesn't have any, reason to really protest this. And he's like, oh yeah, no, it doesn't matter. That's not usable land.
Yeah.
All the way down here is not usable land.
Yeah.
So that's really the main driving force of.
Yeah. It also, and because it's sloped, the building would have to tip uphill. So, and it's not going to tip anyhow. And it would be fighting the wall that's below ground level in the front. Is it second level basement, basically the full length of the building?
It might not be the full length because that might be a lot of too much excavation.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Most likely up here, you can see there's already a little retaining wall. Most likely the front towards the road side, that won't be, probably only be about 20 feet deep, the storage underneath, just for excavation and.
Yeah. And so in reality, if it weren't for the fact that the ground dropped off, you wouldn't even need to be here. Nobody would care about nobody would have an objection based upon some tip over concept or whatever else.
Correct.
Or whether or not you had established a hardship or anything else, you could just do it. Am I correct in that?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's yeah. That makes sense. Anybody else? What do you think, Bill?
Are we going to move into debate? Discussion. Sorry, discussion.
Well, does anybody else have more questions for the owner or Travis?
No, I don't. I think we covered that about 20 minutes ago. If we didn't have that drop off, we wouldn't be here in the first place. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we've discussed this pretty much.
Eat those dead horses.
Okay. Well, I still feel free to ask those questions regardless of how many minutes ago you may think we covered it. But in the meantime, if there are no more questions, maybe do we need?
I was just going to say, we don't have anybody here from the public to speak. I'd like to move that we go into deliberations, and we can maybe talk amongst ourselves for a bit. Okay.
You need a motion or anything?
I don't think we need a motion. We can go into session deliberations.
Declare it, then declare it a closed meeting and we'll go.
Okay. Quite honestly, I don't know where else he can build this. I mean, size seems to be.
Are we in a closed session now, Ned?
We've gone into deliberations. Unless do we need a motion to go into deliberations?
Dennis,
don't know.
Dennis, to your point, you want to close the public portion of the meeting. And then go into, you're not closing the meeting, you're not closing the public hearing, you're closing the
Right.
public.
Closing the public.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Go into the closed
Yeah.
session.
We're going into a closed session. I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you were
You're not
saying.
going into a closed session, you're closing the public hearing and
Closing.
deliberation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And you can just do that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, from my perspective, I don't see where else he could build that building. Could it be shorter? I guess probably. Could it be? Could he dig a bigger or excavate more in the back and build a bigger wall and make it a shorter building? That might be feasible, but he can put a good sized building on his property. And if, as he said, he's going to be doing that anyways, he'd like to have it feasible for proposed use, which we haven't really gotten to. I guess it could be a garage, as he had asked before. It could be a garage, could be an office, could be some kind of auxiliary building to the main house. And I think that's his prerogative. He has removed, he's going to be removing a non-conforming use. I know we had a meeting and it, does that warrant the size building? I don't know, but in the zone that he's in, the RU zone, I think that's something that's up for the owner to discuss. Doesn't appear to be in anybody's line of sight, and it's really not visible from the street. I mean, I've seen other properties that have more visibility than that building will have. So those are my feelings on the subject. And I don't know if anybody else has anything they'd like to say. Dennis?
Yeah, I think I recognize the fact that except for the fall off of the property, the 40-foot length is completely irrelevant. He could do that just fine if the property stayed up at that height. And I guess from a perspective of need, that the hardship type thing, it's just a matter of the drop of the land that affects it. So.
Okay. Rich?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a hardship, and I can see one. Just basically, the fact that if this were flat, we wouldn't even be meeting tonight. The homeowner could do what he wanted because it would meet the setback, but the fact that it rises so quickly makes the need for a variance. So I don't know any historical case law or anything that would support that, but I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think I agree with them that that could be considered a hardship. The side, the upslope of the neighboring lot. And I don't really think we need to talk about use or size or anything. I think the question is there a hardship? And if yes, do we want to grant it? As far as the size of it, I think I'd, anyway, those are my thoughts, Ned.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling a little bit, but I think that's the way I'm leaning.
Okay.
Yeah, I mentioned the length because I was thinking in terms of if it wasn't so long, need the variance, but they'd probably still have a 15-foot height there, rough in that area. It could be 14, could be 16, but you'd have some drop off. If you had to have a normal size garage there, not necessarily 40 feet, but 20 feet, you know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Dennis. And I mean, if we were doing a variance to put this in the front yard or something, I think I'd say this is huge and it doesn't represent a little building, but the fact that it's going to be mostly hidden, I think should be taken into account. That
Yeah,
it's most of it you can't even see. So I think
Yeah.
I think that
Personally,
affords us a little more discretion.
The only reason that really matters is whether or not the neighbors care.
Right.
You know, because it's not up to us to keep.
Yeah,
decide
that's
what
true.
what looks nice.
Yeah, that's true.
No accounting for taste. Okay, Bill?
I really don't have anything to add. I think the points, Ned, that you brought out, and Dennis and Rich are well taken, and I really can't add anything to it. I think you've spoken, all three of you have spoken well on your opinion, and I agree with you.
Okay.
Tom? Tom, you got anything?
Oh,
I agree with what Phil Piggott said.
Okay. So, given that, I'd like to make a motion.
Go
We
ahead.
approve application 8240 for 72 Wickford Place, map 96 lot 40 to vary the section 11.2 of the Madison zoning regulations to allow an accessory building to be built 10 feet from the property line where 20 feet is required.
Second,
I'll second.
Go ahead, Ned, say the words.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
all right.
Thank you.
Enjoy your property. Okay. All right.
My turn. Hold on,
Marlene's turn.
hold on.
and Marlene, you're on.
8241 113 Liberty Street, map 29, lot 147, R2 district. Oh, there he is.
Okay. Is
Hi.
there somebody to speak for on behalf?
I am back. Travis Gulick and Company, renovation contractors. Sorry, I ran out of water, so I had to run over to get a little bit more water from my filter. 45 Wall Street, Madison. I am the contractor for 113 Liberty Street. The client is not on, but they are listening. Let me share my screen. This is a project or property, historic house right on Liberty Street. You probably all know it pretty well. Beautiful little house, right? Pretty much almost on the road, 13 feet approximately from the road. It has a little dormer in the front, on the side. They did build a sun porch, an addition, not that long ago, and they were granted a variance for that porch right on the end. The homeowners approached us looking for a little bit more square footage on the second floor, and they wanted to connect the second floor of the property or of the house to build a second floor above the porch. It is a full season porch in there, and it does have a full foundation. So from there, we went ahead and started designing a addition that will look proper on the house. I'll bring up the survey real quick so you can all see the survey. This was done 2007, this survey, and this was the proposed structure. As you can see, this is the main property, main house. This is that porch that was approved a variance back in 2007. And it is about 13 feet away from the property line. Oh, sorry, let me get rid of the other project that I just brought up. We are looking to add a second floor above the porch to make it more cohesive, the design more in fitting with the house as well. As you can see on the right side, that is the main structure with that dormer. We are looking to add a roof line and add a dormer that mimics it as well and ties in the whole project. This will be from the side of it. We do have to connect the house, the main portion of the house on the second floor to the second floor of the porch. So we are matching this roof line, as you can see, that again, keeping the whole design cohesive. This is the interior. It will be a bedroom, but you can see that the dormers do line up and that the whole facade will be, again, cohesive and look very nice. Oh, I'm going back to here. As you saw from the survey, we are only 13 feet off the property line. The whole house is pretty much non-conforming. So we do have to go for a variance. This is a 40-foot building front setback. 40-foot building line. The whole house is within the front yard setback. So again, normal circumstances, we are not going over coverage. We are not going over floor area as well. We're going to be matching all the materials. Will all be the same. It'll be painted the same color. The roofing will be all the same, same style as well. From here, I will take comment.
So Mr. Gulick, you're basically, the footprint's the same of the house. You're just, you're increasing vertically an existing variance, and that's why you're here?
Correct, yes. I'm not adding any more footprint. I'm just taking the existing variance that was granted for that porch and putting a second floor on.
And you said in the application too, the house was built before zoning. Oh, 1780, wow.
Yes.
That's old.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think there was any zoning going on back then.
No, the house, as you can see, it is one of the more historic houses in town, and being with Liberty Street, all those historic homes, most of them are built pretty close to the pretty close to the road.
But to that point, extending a variance to a second floor, it's also changing the nature of the variance from enclosed porch to full living conditions.
Correct. It's a sun porch more than an enclosed porch, I would say. It has a full foundation.
What did the variance say, the previous variance? What did it call it?
Sorry, I'm bringing it up.
It's 3.6, Dennis, which is the front yard setback from
No, what was
40
the
feet to
original-
13.
What was the variance? What did the
Oh,
variance
sorry.
before?
I have it right here. Upon motion by Mr. Darren, second by Mr. Fume, it was unanimously voted at the Mass blah, blah, blah. 12.6 of the Mass and zoning regulations to allow a 27-foot front yard variance to permit one-story addition to non-conforming dwelling for application. So it is a one-story addition, not a porch.
Okay, so it
Apologize for confusing
it
that.
did not restrict it to an enclosed porch or anything,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, that is directly from the approvals.
Okay,
I believe that's in the file. I'm not sure if I remember.
okay. John, would you like to guide us on any of the standards on this?
No, I think you've seen this before where they're just adding a second story to an existing first story. You know,
Mhm.
they got the variance that, you know, that's compliant now. So,
Yeah, the idea that it was, whether it was a living conditions or just a porch,
no,
I
that was.
wanted to know what that was.
No, that was good. Although the zoning regulations would include an enclosed porch as it would an addition, as far as coverage and floor area is concerned.
Mhm.
But I think the point here is that they're just they want to, that second floor addition in the front, the whole thing is in the setback. So you need a variance for the front yard setback and 12.6 because he's expanding a pre-existing non-conforming structure that doesn't comply
Mhm.
because it's not in the, it's all in the setback. It's all in the front yard setback.
Those early settlers had a tough time complying with zoning, didn't they?
Yeah. They didn't want to walk far from the horse.
And that's one thing with, you know, working with the owners and with our design, really trying to elevate that house and make it more appealing as well. The flat roof with that 1-story addition, while it served its purpose, we all think that it could be elevated, the facade. And that's why we went ahead and did that second floor with that dormer and really made that whole house kind of become one.
Mhm. Yeah, it keeps in the character. That's while in the previous one I said that whether it looks good is not our jurisdiction, but if it keeps in the character of the neighborhood, I think that's important. So.
Correct.
Yeah, nice. Was the first time I saw the backyard. It's a nice property.
Yeah, it goes back.
Very
A little rocky.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's no,
Else got anything?
I guess the only thing I was going to say, what is the new setback? We're not giving any more on the setback except for the vertical.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Do we need to end the public portion and go into deliberation?
Yeah, I make a motion to go. We don't need to. We don't need to. We can close the public portion and go into the deliberations.
And then Ned, when you're finished with the deliberation, you can close the deliberation and go back into the public portion,
Okay.
just so the public knows that.
Okay. So we're now in deliberations.
Yep.
And Dennis, would you like to start off?
Yeah, I struggle with it a little bit because technically speaking, there is room on the property that is not within the setback to add needed space. But on the other hand, the added space, you know, the square footage, and so on of the setback is already, you know, within the setback is already established. And I don't think we'd gain much by saying, well, no, you've got to go build in the backyard.
In the backyard.
You know, I don't think that gains anybody anything. I think from the perspective of what it is we're trying to achieve with the zoning, I think that they'd probably be people would probably be satisfied that that's reasonable.
Sure.
Step. Do we have, you know, we don't have any real comments from neighbors or anything, so.
Yeah, I don't really see how else they could, you know, even if they could go into the backyard, it looks like there's an awful lot of ledge back there.
Yeah, you could probably then establish that, you know,
What
counter
they-
with a hardship that connecting it would be illogical and you know, architecturally a challenge.
Mhm.
whereas this is a direct run of the, basically of the roof line or something, at least, match
Right.
the dormers, match the roof line.
Aesthetically, it'll be a lot more pleasing.
Yeah, in fact, that's true. It would fit the character of the original building more so than the add-on that's there now.
Correct.
So, Rich?
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. I mean, the house was built before zoning, so it's a pre-existing it's a non-conforming structure. And yeah, I mean, it's historic. I don't think you want to say to move it or anything. So yeah, I think I'd be in favor and could just say it's pre-existing. I'm trying to think how you'd word that as a hardship. But anyway, I'm for the variance. Just trying to figure out how to word it.
Tom?
Tom?
I would tend to agree with the statement just spoken, that I would tend to agree with giving him the variance.
Okay.
Bill, Bill?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, since it was pointed out before, there's no increase in the footprint. And I like Dennis's comment about the fact that you're keeping in character of the original building. And like Richard said, that this house was built in 1710, way before zoning. So it just makes sense, to go up and keeping in character with the other houses in the neighborhood. So I would be for the variance.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Is there anyone else? Dennis, were you going to say something?
I'd like to make a motion then that we approve application 8241 for 113 Liberty Street, map 29, lot 47, R2 district, to vary section 36A and 12.6 of the Madison zoning regulations to allow a front yard of 13 feet where 40 feet is required, to permit addition of a second floor over existing first floor room, enlarging an existing non-conforming structure.
Aren't we still in private, in deliberations?
Yeah, before we go on, Dennis, I think I'm looking at the application. Yeah, I was just looking at the application, Dennis. It's only 3.6. Are we looking at the same application? It's for 113 Liberty Street.
Okay, I confess I'm reading off the agenda, not off the actual application.
Yeah.
So
okay. Which is
that's probably not correct.
No. Can I jump in here for a second?
Sure, of course.
Dennis is correct. The legal notice is 12.6. That was added.
Okay, sorry.
Travis about that, and I wanted to be sure that it didn't come up. And it's basically pro forma. It's just something that 12.6 says you can't do anything to a pre-existing non-conforming structure unless it complies with the regulations that are in place for that district. Obviously, this is not. So we added 12.6. I also added it to the previous applicant for 39 Seaview. That wasn't added there either. But once I added it to Travis's application, I added it to the legal notice to both of those. So the legal notice is correct.
Oh, okay.
Dennis is correct. It's 12.6 as well as 3.6, I believe.
Got it. Sorry, Dennis, you were right.
Okay. Do I need to reintroduce the motion?
Well, don't we have to come out of deliberations first before you make the motion? Okay.
Right.
We're going to come out of motion. We're going to come out of deliberations and reopen the public portion of the meeting.
Perfect.
Dennis, you're on.
I don't remember us doing it that way before. Maybe I didn't pay attention enough. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve application 8241 for 113 Liberty Street, map 29, lot 147, R2 district. Request to vary section 36A and 12.6 of the Madison zoning regulations to allow a front yard of 13 feet where 40 feet is required to permit addition of second floor over existing first floor sunroom, enlarging an existing non-conforming structure.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
I like
congratulations.
doing it that way. Marlene gets to cut and paste into the minutes and doesn't have to. Yeah, makes it easier on her too. So,
Thanks. Thank you.
okay,
Okay.
Mr. Gulick,
Thank you.
Mr. Gulick,
Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
can I ask you a favor for future applications? Can you work a little harder on the description of the hardship and make us understand better what's going on?
Yes,
Why
sir.
it's, this is two of them where we struggled with the hardship.
Sure.
There was,
No problem.
okay, thank you.
That's a good point, Dennis.
I think we should ask it up front. But anyways, okay, I think we have the meetings, 2 meetings that we have to approve.
Meeting
Well,
minutes, okay.
Approval of the minutes, March 3rd, 2021, special meeting, and March 9th, 2021, regular meeting.
Okay. All in favor of the approval of the minutes to March 6th meeting?
Are you making a motion to approve them? Second,
Third.
all right. Now you can ask Ned.
Okay.
You
Would
made a motion.
anyone like to make a motion to read, or make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I'll accept the motion to approve the meeting minutes of what is the next date?
The March 9th regular meeting.
March 9th,
When
regular.
was it? March? Okay,
March 6th was the regular,
March
was
3rd
the
was-
special meeting.
March 9th was a regular meeting. March 3rd was a special meeting.
Right.
And I wasn't there for, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We probably didn't do this right. The motion was not clear as to which meeting minutes I was moving for. Marlene, do you want me to redo that one?
It was, the first one was for March 3rd, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
And then you were doing the March 9th.
okay. So I'll make the motion. We approve the March 9th minutes of the March 9th regular meeting.
All in favor?
Who seconded? Wait, who
A
seconded?
second. We didn't have. Well,
Somebody said, Bill, did you second that?
Wait a minute now.
Say yes, I seconded.
Yeah, the first minutes were for March 3rd, correct?
I'm gonna vote in a second if we don't wrap this up.
Please, yes. Just say second, Bill.
Well, I did.
Okay. All
And
in
March
favor?
9th.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Aye. Thank you. Good night.
All right.